How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's
Good.
just it's busy, which
Yes.
is good.
Yes.
So sorry for me to have the big headset, but that's how I work.
You
I
can
like
work
it.
like that.
And I actually do have the actual microphone because it sounds a little bit better.
It does. I was going to get my boom as well, and I thought I'm just going to hold the microphone tonight. No big deal.
That's how I always do it. I end up having to move it.
Yeah.
Well, I can move this one, but I don't have to worry about it. But if otherwise, I will hit it somewhere, and that's my problem. So normally I have the because this one has an internal mic as well.
Yeah.
But and I use it for training courses. But yeah, that's just this is a little bit nicer sound for a podcast. So
Yes. Perfect. Today we have Peter, and I cannot pronounce your last name.
you should have asked me beforehand.
That I should have.
Professionals here.
So, okay, so the name it will pop up, but it's Lijnse. It's spelled Lijnse. It's a Dutch name, and the IJ combination is an I sound in Dutch. So that's where the Lijnse come from. So don't try to pronounce the J. The best thing, what I normally say is use the word line and then "sa." Yeah, and then that's good enough. But
Peter?
most people try. Yeah.
Peter Lijnse.
Yeah, perfect.
That's good.
I spent a week with Peter and never tried to pronounce his name.
Yeah, you ignored that part. Yes.
Yes, I did. I did. So did most everybody else.
Oh yeah, they do. That's it's not something I'm always looking at. Okay, how do you pronounce last names, etc. Because I know mine is normally just made very different than it should be. It's funny when you're in an airport and you have some like, would that be me or not?
Oh yeah. My last name is so plain, so no one ever mispronounces it.
You will be surprised how some people actually can still mispronounce that. But yes,
That
absolutely.
is true. Yeah.
Yeah. My last name gets mispronounced all the time. It used to be Shore, Shore, which is my maiden name, but Steckel somehow gets all different kinds of pronunciations. So that's always a good time. Yeah.
It's one of those things. And I nowadays just ask, indeed. So
Yeah.
I was in class with Peter the week of January 10th. So Ashley, when you didn't hear from me, pretty much Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then at the very end of Friday, when I told you I was certified after my exam, I was with Peter with the BRMP class, and Peter and his partner Elka ran the class to become BRMPs, Business Relationship Management Professional. So Peter, tell us about your journey. Tell us about how you and Elka became partners for leading the BRMP class. And I'm assuming other classes as well with Lead the Pack Consulting.
It's a long story. I hope you have the time for that. But I'll start a little bit with my background. As some people already, and I already mentioned in the introduction, my last name is originally Dutch, and I came from the Netherlands, moved to Canada in 1997, and first in Toronto and currently in Calgary. I was always kind of in the consulting facilitator space, and there's kind of an interesting how I rolled into that, but specifically for IT management. So in 2006 in Calgary, I decided to set up my own company around some frameworks that were there for IT management. And I had been working with them for a long time. So did that for myself. And then some other partners started to join. And we did things like IT service management, governance, lean work, etc., process improvement, all those kind of things. And in 2017, we decided as the partners, there was another partner, and we decided to dissolve the company. Elka and I decided to continue with specifically something focused on business relationship management, which I had then found in 2012, 2013. So for 5 years, I basically had some like, yeah, this is great as a side thing, but it became so interesting that we decided, no, we want to do business relationship management. And that's what we're doing at this moment. So we set up Lead to Pack Consulting. My marketing company has been, I mean, I've been working with them for a long time, and they came up with the name. I basically had some like, hey, I'm dissolving this one. I want a new name. Give me something. And they had some like, sure. So within a week, he had a logo and a name. And I had some, okay, we'll start with that.
Nice.
So that's the wolf logo, Lead to Pack. And since then, we've really just, the two of us basically have started to run BRM courses, the one that Robin took. We do some advanced courses, we do workshops. We do a lot of coaching with a lot of different organizations. So I work with several larger organizations, multinationals, also non-profit organizations to help them with business relationship management. And yeah, that's how we got here for that, and still enjoying that work really. So I use some of the IT background. Elka actually has a background which is way more legal, HR, and finance, and specifically the finance side. So we complement each other quite often, and she does certain things more on the finance and HR side, and I just run when there's more people up in IT, etc. So we can do both, but it's just fun to do that. So yeah, that's how it came about. And for me, business relationship management when I found it, I had some like, oh, this is fun. And I can't remember what Robin found, but eventually when you start hearing about business relationship management, a lot of people have someone, oh, I've been doing that. And that's actually the fun part of my work, building relationships and making sure that things move forward, etc. So that's how I started. So I'm not sure if that was what you were looking for, but it's a little bit longer story than maybe that is necessary. But it's for me, it has always been start something and see how it goes. I'm always very future looking, so I'm trying to always look for things that are new, but I've also made the decision very clearly that I don't want to grow a company. And I think that was a very, very specific element of building Lead to Pack. It's just Elka and myself, and that's it, with a little bit of support, but nothing else. And that's a difficult decision in a way, because you always think that you need to grow a company, and then you suddenly realize, no, I don't have to. So
that's awesome. So for a layman, because I had no idea what business relationship management even was until Robin kind of brought it up. Can you explain, like, in a very simple terms? You kind of just mentioned it, like building relationships, but like, is this with, it sounds like businesses, like a person to person, business to business? If you could just explain that a little easier for our listeners who have never heard of it before.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is, so it's not the marriage counseling, building relationships between people. Let's just take that off. That's absolutely not it. It's from a business perspective, very specifically between often, and how it starts between two business groups. So I'm just giving you an example. If you have a sales group and an operations group in a company, and they are not working well together, business relationship management would talk about, okay, how can we get better communication? Are we doing the right steps? How do we get people closer together? We often work for IT groups in larger organizations where there is a little bit of a disconnect with some of the other groups in the organization. And that's where we're building that. But I've seen it anywhere. I mean, I've seen HR business partners, sometimes they're called business partners, HR business partners doing the same thing. You represent an HR group to the rest of the organization, and you suddenly realize that, yeah, we can do better on strategy. We can do better on working with together. Really, that's working closely together to get better results. So I can make it potentially even simpler, but I'm hoping that this is.
That's a great explanation. Yeah, I would have never known if Robin hadn't mentioned it, but it's really cool, and I can think of like a lot of places that would benefit. So every company ever, I'm sure.
Yeah, every company, and that's one of the things that we always say, is that relationships are everywhere. Let's just say that. I mean, what we're having here is kind of a relationship as well, or you build a relationship. And I think that is part of that. A lot of those are individual. But when I look at all the different individual requirements from a relationship perspective, that is one thing. Yeah, we need to be able to work together. But in a company, you quite often have two groups that need to work together. And there's all different kind of, there's politics, there's challenges of how people work together or not work together. People don't like each other, but you still need to get your results from a company perspective. So we often see BRMs also, and I'm sure I said it in the training class with Robin as well. One of the biggest challenges in companies is it's great to work with people you like, but what about all these people you don't like that you also have to work with, because together you need to build that result. And that's what we're quite often trying to focus on. And yeah, it's always easy to say, yeah, no, I don't care about that person, I'm ignoring that, but that could mean that you don't get certain results. So that's why business relationship management quite often brings that to the table. But of course, you never have anyone that you don't like, so everything works fine.
Hey, wink, wink.
It's like we all work at Disney and we all get along.
Oh, let me tell you stories about Disney. No, sorry, let's leave
that.
Ashley and her parents love Disney.
I love Disney.
So.
No,
but I only see what's on the surface level where everyone's getting along. So
I'm sure that there is some things in the background where things not always work. But now Disney is a good example from a company, absolutely. But yeah, there's all different kind of things. But I've done a lot of work with. So, for instance, the United Nations and currently working with UNICEF, etc. And that makes me feel good quite often on those kind of things as well. But it's around efficiency, it's around getting things done, and it's just fun to do these kind of things. So, okay.
I was really amazed with the business relationship management class that I took, how you would think something could be really simple. That Ashley and I have talked about this before on other podcasts. You think that something should be simple. So writing a letter would be simple. Manifesting could be simple. Writing a book, writing chapters, that sounds really simple. But when you get into the details, I was truly amazed. I've done lots of different classes. I have an MBA, I have a PMP, have different certifications behind my name. But nothing is ever so easy. And looking through the business relationship framework, I was just amazed at all the different segments that there are in relationships, in building relationships, sustaining relationships, growing relationships, and having that ultimate end goal of partnering and truly partnering together. It's not one side, it's not another, it's not one team doing this work, another team doing that work. It's really a shared knowledge, shared respect, shared knowledge, shared understanding that everybody on the team has different growth patterns, different areas where they are on the spectrum, and learning about it, you would think would be easy, and it just isn't. It's complicated, but it's doable, and it really can succeed.
Oh, you earned your certificate. I heard that. It's you're doing well. Yeah, it is. In a way, it's simple, but what I always say, it's so easy to talk about processes and technology and things don't work, etc. But in the end, when you talk about relationships, you actually really start to focus on and the human factor and the challenges with different personalities, different ways of people working. And I think that's where sometimes the complexity comes in. I also am very passionate about that, that are in the relationships and in overall in organizations, the diversity of people is extremely important, because that brings different elements of the relationship, that brings different perspectives in the relationship. And I think that's why companies that are very good at working on diversity, different people working on decision making, etc., you automatically see there is more conversation going, there is more communication, and it becomes easier to get to the results that you're actually looking for. So there's so many different facets to this, and I just enjoy. It's also something that a lot of people that are ending up in this business relationship management space or see it as a leadership role, they all are very open quite often. They want to talk to people. They want to network. I'm not saying that it's only extroverts that are in there, but it's there's a lot of them, but also introverts that can turn it on for a small time. And I think that is important. I think in organizations, so in certain groups in businesses, you have groups that really want to shield themselves off from everyone else. They just want to do their own work. They want to fiddle with certain widgets, etc., and that's all they want to do. But if you really start to think about it, someone else needs to kind of sell those widgets or give it to someone else. And I think that's where the relationship element comes in. And I'm really hoping with the way this is going, and from a future perspective as well, when I'm looking at this, is that even in an MBA, etc., when you mentioned MBA, that we're going away from some of the management side and saying, okay, this is how you manage a company, etc., and that we get more attention on the relationship side. And we all know, if you go to any company, if you go to a restaurant, if you go to a store, you know when the relationships are good with the staff there, you feel that as a customer. Yeah, when you come in, you feel, okay, yeah, they're working together, everything is fine. Where there is an staff issues, etc., then we quite often see immediately that you also feel that as a consumer or a customer. And I think that's so powerful to recognize that every single time. So that's, for me, that's the excitement. And yeah, I started with IT and doing that, but I just enjoy at this moment talking to people. So
it sounds to me like, or it doesn't sound to me, it sounds like you started your company around this part before COVID. How have you seen like business relationship management transform, like in a COVID world where people are like doing everything online? Like we're more online than we ever have been, because I know I'm sure that some companies during this time have had a breakdown in like communications when you're working across all markets. Have you seen a shift, or can you speak to that at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So before COVID really started, I remember my last flight very clearly. There was a New York flight that didn't go that well, and I just had something like, I'm just going to sit here in the corner and just hide from everyone else because this is not going to go well. And we canceled 2 sessions, mostly after that. But I traveled a lot. Most of these courses, although we did some of them online, a lot of people were not really ready to do online training. And I have to explain that we're only doing virtual online, so we don't have e-learning or so. People, it's not self-paced. We always do instructor-led, and that's always something we've done. And we did a lot of classroom sessions. I mean, I traveled all over North America, Europe, etc. If someone needed a course, we quite often went on site. So I went to Europe on a regular basis, anywhere in North America. And that suddenly stopped. And in the beginning, it was like, okay, what do we do now? Well, we have our online version, which we did every 2 months or so. And we said, okay, well, we're going to put some more on for that, and we'll see what happens. At that moment, I also realized that the online versions were quite often still very much like presentation style with some discussion, and people could hide, etc. So we wanted to do something different. So we did bring in a collaboration tool to get people to more interact. And that means that you basically have a big whiteboard and people will actually put stickies on, etc. So since it, in this case, mural,
like
biro, mural, whatever it is.
I loved it. I really enjoyed doing those exercises.
Yeah, and that means that there is a different way of communication, and you have video, you have You have the audio, you have chat, you have emoticons, and all those kind of things. So there's a lot of different ways of interacting. So for us, it was a change, but in a way good. So for the last 2 years, I mean, I've done way more online training than ever. I actually gained a lot of time. It was like, hey, I don't have to travel on a Sunday, come back on a Thursday. I actually have a Sunday here at home and I can do things. I got a cat in the beginning of COVID, and I don't think he will realize that I sometimes actually would be gone for 3 weeks. So it's, and he would be very, very sad. But so that was a change for us. And I think I do a lot of coaching, which is quite often was already on there, online quite often because it's easier. You do an hour here and there. And I in the beginning, actually, I didn't really like video because I rather listen. I have a tendency to close my eyes when someone is talking in a coaching session, etc., and just listen to what is going on and then responding to that. And it helps me to remove some of the distractions. That was, so it's changed. I did a training class in December on site with all the precautions, etc., and the requirements that we had to go through. It was not the same. I actually enjoy online now more than actually a classroom session, because we couldn't do on a whiteboard because you couldn't stand too close to each other. You're still 6 feet away, etc., preferably with masks and all those kind of things. I still wouldn't see the nonverbal communication, most of it, because quite often that's the smiling, etc., that you miss because it's behind the mask. So in a way, you have something like, I'm missing things now, and I get that online. Now, the interesting thing is, business relationship management, there's quite often people assigned to this, and they started to work remotely. We've had people that were hired in a new organization, building relationships without ever having seen in real life the people they need to work with. Yeah, everything was from video.
So fascinating to me.
Yes, and it works. It absolutely works. There's a way of doing it, but it requires different communication channels, because some people actually love what we do here, Zoom session or Microsoft Teams or whatever you use, with video, and we talk to each other, etc.
Big on that.
but on the other hand, I mean, some people actually just pick up the phone. Some people like to do it through email. Some people like to do text messaging. And I think when you're suddenly in that remote environment, you need to understand what the preferred channel of communication is from someone to be able to how you communicate with them. And that, I think, is part of building relationships as well. If you know that, it's a lot easier to do that. By the way, there was some side note. Sorry, I have the tendency to do this. So Robin knows I have sidebar sometimes. There was a research done in the beginning of the pandemic around anxiety, and specifically based on Zoom and or other areas. But if you see a lot of people in front of you on all the video screens, etc., you quickly realize that your brain can't handle that. When you see people in a room, you only can look with 1 or 2 people at the same time, because you need to move your head, etc. Some of the brains actually, when they saw, for instance, if you see 16 people on your screen, your brain goes in, okay, this is dangerous, and it goes in a flight mode for some people, and that's a lot of these kind of things were never taken into account. Of course, you start to realize that. And this is why it's sometimes very difficult for people, and why in the beginning we were so extremely tired to sit in Zoom meetings all day, and then realize that it's just because your brain couldn't cope with it, because it's a different interaction than face-to-face or meeting people. So a lot of those kind of psychology things and neuroscience, etc. It's a hobby. I love reading that, but it's interesting, those kind of things. So yeah, you cope with it. I traveled twice in the last 2 years. The last year in October and in December, and I'm not so sure if I want to do it again.
Yeah,
it's not fun anymore. Yeah, and not that it ever was really fun for work, but my perfect thing now is that, can I stay online as much as possible? I know in a year or 2 years or so, people will come back and say, can you come and join us, etc. And yeah, sure, if it's a really nice castle hotel in the in the mountains or something like that, no, I feel good, or Hawaii or something like that. But for the rest, I need to think about that. The middle of, and I don't want to offend anyone, but the middle of Ohio in the winter is not really my favorite space. It's, I live in Calgary, so I know I'm cold all the time, but it's
Interesting.
Yeah,
I love the sidebars. One of my favorite sidebar was you talking about you were leading a class and you turned to look out your window and you saw, was it a mountain lion or a bobcat?
No, it was a bobcat. Yeah, it was a bobcat. So
Okay.
yeah, I'll tell this story.
I would love to hear this story. You have to tell me.
I love this story.
So
started laughing. It's gotta be good.
Yeah, on the side here of a window, there's a curtain now to just avoid a little bit of light. But so normally in the mornings, especially the curtain is open, and I have the tendency to, because I have normally the headset on with the mic just right in front of me, so I can move around without really missing the sound. So at a certain moment, I looked outside and see in the street, and I live in the outskirts of Calgary in a suburb, and a bobcat walking on the street, and I see him going into the bushes just on the other side of the street where the neighbors live. I thought, okay, well, bobcat. I didn't mention it at that moment, but I somehow talked, and in mid-sentence, I had again looked outside. I don't know why. Suddenly I see a big jackrabbit, which is a huge white rabbit, sprinting out of the bushes, followed by a bobcat, followed by 5 magpies, which are the big white and black birds.
Okay.
They were going after the bobcat. As someone said, well, yeah, they're like the rabbit bits, but they always, when there's a bobcat, the magpies are always circling around, etc. They're nasty animals as well. So I saw that, and I asked them like, and I thought like, that was a bobcat and a jackrabbit, and what is happening here? And everyone had something like, I got comments on it later. It's like, you were distracted, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, happens. But yeah, that was a story. I've seen more things. I mean, I've biked. I like to bike, and in the summer I biked to a hill down in just. I mean, not too far from the house. It's maybe 5 minutes from the house or so. And I'm coming down, and suddenly a moose comes out through the through one of the side areas, etc., and was starting to chase me, which I was glad I was going down the hill. I was faster. But then, of course, you have someone, I need to take a photo. So I stop behind a car to take a photo, because of course otherwise no one will believe you anymore. It's so yeah, I did that as well. But yeah, that's Calgary for you. And a friend of mine lives near, a little bit closer to the outskirts, and they had a bear a couple of years ago, etc. So yeah, they're but especially during this is coming back to COVID, yeah. During the pandemic, there were more and more sightings of bobcats, mountain lions, bears, moose, etc. in the outskirts. They're coming in because they don't see a lot of other people, etc. So it's yeah, hey, that's part of the wildlife. I mean, I live in Canada because I can see the wildlife. I don't want to live in areas where there's small little critters that can kill you and you don't even see them. I can't handle that.
I saw a picture of a moose. Like I know what a moose looks like, but I saw a picture of like one next to a car pretty recently, and I was like, oh my God. Like I had no frame of reference for how big those things are. And then also I saw a baby moose, which is also just a funny looking creature. Like they're like weird little hunt. They're so cute.
So car manufacturers have what they call the moose test.
No way.
Yeah, so it's They call it that. I'm not sure if it's the official term, but so you need to realize that a moose is about 1,000 kilos, so 2,000 pounds or something like that, as a body, with 4 short sticks, 6 feet high.
Yeah.
So can you imagine when you come with your car that's 6 feet high, but it's really 2,000 pounds that actually roll over your car, and that's the roll test, etc. They do. It's one of the crash tests, etc. And someone has called it eventually moose test, but because it looks similar to it. But yeah, it's.
Do people hit meese?
Oh,
what is the plural of moose? Is it?
Oh, yeah. Hey! English is my second language. Don't ask me. It's not meese. I can tell you that.
Good. I mean, people hit in the States because we're in the United States, but people hit deer all the time. Is that people are hitting moose a lot too? They're just
it can. I mean, they normally stay away, but it's absolutely possible. But most people that really hit a moose dead on, I don't think you will survive that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see what the damage a deer does.
Yeah.
And they jump over, etc.
Total car.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I've seen moose on hikes, etc. And from afar.
Have you seen an actual wolf?
Yes, yeah. Okay, another story is.
Sorry, this is a way sidebar, but I love it.
That's fine. Don't worry. We will just entertain people, and if it's not interesting, then they'll know. No, we have we sponsor it actually. There is it's not really wolves, but so about 20 miles from us is on the way to the mountains. There is a sanctuary for wolf dogs.
Cool.
And they have a big place. They recently expanded, etc. So it's the Amnuska wolf sanctuary, and they have the different wolves in the different varieties, because there's some are very wolf and some are more dog, etc. But a lot of these can't live. So with people, etc., you need to have really land. So they put them in small little groups, and they live as a group, and they have a large space, and they feed them in the winter. I've seen some photos of them or videos where they dig themselves into the snow, etc., and they love snow. So you can visit it, and it's great to see that. So from that perspective, I've seen a wolf very far away. I know it was a wolf, but I normally like to see those animals from far away. Especially when you bike through the mountains and you suddenly realize there's a bear there. You don't want to go up the hill at that moment. So yeah, we totally went off track, did we? That's what you get when you ask me. It's
I'm good with it. What is the future for Lead the Pack Consulting? Any big changes coming up? Just going with industry standards? What's coming for you and Elka?
I think what we okay, I need to explain this, because at the very first start, when I set up a company, I already talked with my marketing company, and it's a friend of mine, and we always talked about, okay, what kind of marketing do you want to do? What kind of presence do you set in the market? And we from the very first start, we've always talked about this, and I think this is happening now more with Lead the Pack, it's authoritative marketing, which means market yourself as an authority in the space, and just do that, yeah. And we do that together. We both have a name in the market, and we cultivate the name as the expert, and just make sure that people know where to find us. And that takes time. That takes a lot of time, actually. And it's a different way of marketing. You don't really market a product, you market the company overall, what you can do. But it also limits you on who you can if you would hire someone, who you can hire, because it needs to fit within that image that you and that brand you say. Also, I found that it really works well to be in that niche market, niche. Is it niche or niche? I never know. I've that very focused market. Yes, let's use a different word. That very focused marketing, that purpose specifically around business relationship management helps us as well, because people know us for business relationship management. And yeah, we add a little bit of organizational behavior management, etc., to this as well. But that's really what we're focused on. That's going to continue. There are some things that I'm definitely looking at to look at. Okay, where are we going in the future? Part of that is certain engagements, certain things where we work, certain companies we work with. We're very particular around which companies we do what with. I mean, the training is you get different people in. But when I do some of the coaching and the consulting with organizations, I'm very specific around, okay, who do I want to work with? What are some of the things where we can do? And that pays off. Yeah, I'm also getting older, so eventually retiring would be nice. But retiring nowadays is like you work a little bit less, but you still work, apparently, until you're 70 or something like that, or 80, whatever you can do. So I haven't figured that one out yet, to be honest. I have some things in mind. I did meet one of my goals just recently, and that was not intended, and it was too early. But hey, sometimes things happen earlier than you think it would happen. So it's sometimes you set a goal and you have something like, yeah, I want to eventually have that, and then you suddenly get it, and it's like, now what? Yeah. So yeah, I'm readjusting.
You share the goal?
Yeah, that's the wait. Hold on.
Oh, I saw the little Oscar guy.
This is what I'm not sure if you can even read it. It's the Arnie Award. So the BRM Institute every year gives out awards for certain things. So sometimes for BRM teams, sometimes for BRM themselves. And I got some of the ones, but there is one big one, which is this one, is the Arnie Award, which is overall for what you've done for the community, etc., and what you've worked on. And I always had something like, you know what, in a couple of years, yeah, that might be there. Not that I'm expecting it, and then suddenly they decided to give it to me in October. So I'm really happy with it. Let's just say that. But as I got it, I had some like, but I wasn't done yet. So I have more to do. So yeah, so I'm not sure what I'm going from here, but it's no, it's I said a. Not really as a goal, I have to have this, but it's something like that, the recognition that you get in the market for it, that helps with that whole other authoritative marketing that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, part of what we're doing and what we really like to do. And I want to, and I get this now more and more, that people actually come to us and say, hey, I want to work with you. Can you do this for us? Can you do that for us? And that's, I think, what the key part of it is. And it's a long path. I mean, there's so many different things we can do, but it's the fun part as well to see how well you can do things. But yeah, I'm a friend of mine just retired, and I had some like, okay, but now I still see him online basically on a regular basis. So he's not really retired. He's doing things, but it's getting to that point as well. It's like, when do I want to retire? Do I want to retire? Maybe this is for years to come. I think in the future it might be like, I'm just going to work less, and just maybe do only a couple of 2 weeks per month or so, and that's it. And then the other 2 weeks I do something else. So I don't know. It's building that image in the market is still my biggest goal. There's still lots of people that just know maybe what I do, but I still need to actually discuss with them. But like I said, certain companies I don't want to work with. Sometimes the work that you have to do to be able to get them as a customer is just not worth it. Yeah. And going through all different kind of hoops and vendor deals, etc. And I was like, no. For me, this was already a more relaxed thing than when I had the previous company, when we had staff and we needed to manage that, etc. And then you feel very responsible for all those kind of things. And when you dissolve it, it's really painful actually to dissolve a company. But when you then start up with something else, which is way more relaxed, and you can basically say, you know what, the pandemic didn't really affect us. I mean, it affected us, but not that much, because I had to, like, yeah, I'll take a couple of months off. I mean, it's fine. It's I can do that. And that's, I think, one part of that. It's for me, the most important part is having fun in my work.
Yeah.
And if I have fun in my work, if I enjoy what I'm doing, then I can do a lot of different things. And I think Robin said at the start, writing is easy. I can tell you it's not.
No, I had made the comment, you'd think it would be easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. I can stare at a blank screen and nothing comes out. And then the following day, sometimes suddenly I stare at the same screen and suddenly it pops out. It's very difficult. I've tried twice to write a book and it's just not going to happen. I know this now. I make videos.
And that's, like you said, communication style. You're a video person.
Yeah, to a certain extent. It's I was a little bit more involved. I need to come back to this. And yeah, I did have a podcast as well for a while, and I need to start this up. And
Yes.
Robin told me to start again.
Yes. I did just watch your video from last year on the BRM Cafe on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yep, saw that. And yes, I do think that you need to get your podcast back up and rolling.
You know what? It's
natural.
This in the beginning I edited myself, and that was painful. I'm not sure what you're doing, but I find it absolutely painful to edit. And then you have, okay, do I take this out? Do I not? And because a lot of stuff I took out, and I'm not sure about you, but a lot of things fall on the edit floor, and no one ever hears that, and it doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't matter, because no one ever heard it. But if I didn't like it, I took it out. So I would have to listen to my own podcast and my own voice, basically, with guests, etc., for 8 times to be able to get it to the point where I felt comfortable. Yeah, and I didn't even do video; I just did audio. So I've been looking at technology. I wanted to find some technology that makes this easier. You do Zoom, and I wanted to know how this went, but I found another one that I actually thought was really cool, and it actually has, you can even have a producer, etc., that is not on the video screen but can still actually talk to people, does not get recorded. And the biggest thing for that one was, for me, it's the quality of the audio channel. I think we're doing pretty good here, but sometimes I had people, especially in that time before the pandemic, not everyone was very good with their audio. And what you got was, with Zoom, for instance, it's recorded in one feed. A lot of the newer tools, basically, you record locally, and then you can get it automatically uploads each of the different WAV files, etc. So again, I got stuck into the technology, which I know I shouldn't do. And then, of course, I had 3 people lined up, and then just stuff happens, and I couldn't do this. So I'm working on it, but it's maybe I need to, I like to have a script and do everything, and people actually want to have everything. And now I realize that maybe I don't need that, but yeah, you never know what you
Same like us.
just start and figure it out. Yes.
Yeah, we thought we wanted everything scripted, and I started writing scripts left and right, and the first one sounds terrible. So the very first episode, Ashley could not focus for anything. So I ended up scripting that for us, did that, and we listened to it and thought, I mean, it's cringeworthy. It is just terrible. I tell people when, go listen to I Can Do Anything podcast, but start at episode 2. And we do our own editing. Yeah. I really enjoy it. I find myself cracking up half the time when I'm doing editing and listening to Ashley and I, or Ashley will roll her eyes at me or say, "Oh, Robin, we had a Sula and Spice was one of our episodes." It was Sula May Yeager has a Sula and Spice YouTube channel and blog. And I had made a recipe, and it did not turn out correctly because Sula needed to do some editing. Nonetheless, here Ashley says, Robin, this is cringeworthy. And I just started laughing.
I don't even remember saying that now. So.
I have it recorded.
Okay. Well, it's everywhere now.
It was funny. I enjoy doing it. This is a hobby for us, and it's.
Yep.
I get that though. It's a lot of extra work, like having to edit and stuff.
It is. I don't mind it.
Right.
Yeah, I would nowadays. I would just get my marketing company to say just edit it, and I'll listen to the last part, etc. I had eventually someone edit it for me, and that worked really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you still need to listen to it. You still need to hear what is happening. For me, the formula was getting a little bit maybe stale. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I do things differently? And I got to that point. Eventually, you get a guest on the show and you ask the same questions. It's like, okay, what do you do? What are your what are some of your challenges? And similar things came up. So I'm still thinking a little bit around, okay, how can I make it more exciting? On the other hand, I also hear from a lot of people, just tell me what it is. And then people actually start saying, you need to invite that person, or you need to invite that person. And I have some like, yeah, okay, but I don't know that person. And that was sometimes a little bit of a challenge as well. So in deep inside, I'm really an introvert. So I will, it's very difficult to actually get me to do those kind of things. But no, it's difficult because, and I get lots of comments on it. Oh, this is great. Yeah, I found the podcast. Okay. Which episode did you listen to? Hopefully not that one. And that's normally what I have. But yeah, I absolutely need to do it. What I found interesting, I have recording equipment for to do a podcast basically without video, but on site, for instance. So we did that at a conference a couple of years, where I just got 4 or 5 people sitting around a table, each a microphone, and we just talked about the conference. And those are some of the ones that I found very exciting for myself, because now people are actually saying, yeah, I heard this morning in this presentation. Or people say, yeah, I heard that as well. So it was a great way to get feedback from that. So those were the last ones I did. And then, but like I said, I need to find a different way of doing this. I have the whole BRM Cafe is there. I use it for monthly videos that I send out through a newsletter. I'm trying to do that every month, and then and those are 1 to 2 minute videos. I've done lots of those from the previous company as well for BRM. So I did just weekly videos eventually, and eventually even that becomes like, okay, we need to find something new. But guests are always they bring different things to the table. So.
Yeah, I love all the different guests that we have, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know, talking about a bobcat and a jackrabbit and magpies.
That sounds like to me like a children's book that needs to happen. I've never heard of them. Like, I didn't know magpies were that vicious.
Oh, they are.
I thought they were like pigeon-like, but that just shows how much.
No, they're as big as crows. They're
Really?
chasing everything away. Cats, basically, if there's a cat outside, there will be magpies on top of that, and they're squeaking and squawking. Whatever they do, they're making lots and lots of noise. So they steal everything as well. Nowadays we have containers here outside for the garbage, but in the past, when you just had to put garbage bags outside, it would be all over.
Yeah,
they're pretty. I'm looking at them right now.
Yes, but okay.
I know I've never experienced one.
they're pretty. Do you know? We have another animal here. I think all our animals are a little bit of aggressive, or passive aggressive, or aggressive. One of the two. Canadian geese are well known for their nastiness.
They hiss at me when I walk my dog.
Yeah, someone there's a story around it somewhere on Twitter. That's he came from Mexico, I think, or so. The story went, and he came and said, "What are all these cobra chickens doing outside?" And since then, we actually all call them cobra chickens, because they look like a chicken with a cobra head. So it's, but yeah, I've been chased on the bike basically by them. It's
they're real mean.
Yes, those are the Canadian military. It's basically the Canadian military. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
don't come here. We have animals that kill you. Yeah.
I've never heard a bird hiss at someone before, but
Ooh.
they'll like charge you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They will, and they will protect anything. So yes, you have to be very careful. That's, but yeah, that's Paltwaf. We invade their territory. That's always the approach I take. So, which of course has nothing to do with business relationship management at all. But Robin is, I have a feeling that Robin is trying to figure out how do I get him back to something that makes sense. But
he's real good at that, making like great segues.
Let's just go here. Congratulations on the Arnie.
Thank you.
That's very exciting, and happy BRM week.
Yes, because
Is
this
it?
week, yes. Yes, this is the week that the BRM Institute was founded, and they always do BRM week. So they have all different kind of activities, from meetings, volunteer meetings, etc. So that's this week, etc. Normally, I'm more involved in that, but this year I had all different kind of challenges, and we had booked a training class this week, so I'm teaching this week, so it didn't really work out. But yeah, normally I'm heavily involved in those kind of things as well, and it's just fun way to meet people. A lot of BRMs like networking, so you just hop on a Teams meeting and you just talk to each other, etc. So it's great. It's a really great community. Let's just say that, and I think the community is helping everyone to move forward. I think it's stronger than, for instance, if you have project management or so. It's a little bit more. A lot of people have project management certification. This one really has a community around this, which I think is and a lot of people are very active in that. So that makes it interesting. Yeah, it makes it fun.
Do you have any like metric on, since it's BRM week and we're also celebrating your Arnie, do you know how many students have like gone through your courses? Do you have that metric or?
So yeah, I do. I've done, since the course was available in 2013, I have had well over 1,000 students going through that.
Wow.
And the last 3 months,
Yes.
I've done 100 extra. So, and so,
Wow.
so yeah, no, we're
Yeah.
there's quite a lot of
Right.
students.
It's
And
it's a great class. I loved it. And Boss Kelly, Ashley, you know Boss Kelly, my boss Kelly is currently in your class, Peter, and she's there this week. And I said, oh my gosh, you get to go during BRM week. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Oh, okay. I need to tell her that then tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So now she has to
I
listen.
adore Boss Kelly. She is wonderful.
It now it goes back in my head like, okay, did I say anything that I shouldn't have said about the course this week? But I don't think I did I?
No. You should say something about a previous student, Robin Stuckel, did an excellent job on this.
Mhm.
Just to see if she'd say something.
Yep. So something like that. Yes. I take bribes. Don't worry. I will definitely do that if you need that. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I you know what? Sometimes I don't recognize all the different companies, etc. So,
No.
but that's but yeah, it's we have this week I think it's 14 people. So it's a great group. So and we do these courses, like I said, at least once per month now, and quite often we are doing a lot of these size of groups. I mean, we've also do courses where there's suddenly only 2 people. Happened. But yeah, this is always fun. You get more discussions, etc. We're using, like I said, Mural as a whiteboard for the exercises. I'm actually looking at some other things, etc. as well. I found that certain things work really well. That was another thing I noticed when I started doing online teaching. Was in the beginning, people were found it very difficult to do online. They would log in 15 minutes beforehand to try it and make sure that everything works, etc. And nowadays, everyone comes on top of the hour, preferably a minute late, because hey, and then they give the reason for, I had to download something or something like that. But we are so used to this now that it's suddenly like, okay, I need to go on a call. I know one of the things I learned along the way, that because I was in Zoom today, I need to restart my computer to be able to do an MS Teams meeting tomorrow, because those two don't like each other. Somehow it just, audio doesn't come through anymore, etc. So it's like that's, I rarely actually use Zoom. It's really interesting. A lot of people actually talk about Zoom, and I rarely use it. Maybe once per month or so.
Last words for our listeners?
No, I just want to know what the two of you are doing, especially, I mean, Robin, I kind of know because he's kind of in a BRM role, but what do you do actually?
So I just transferred roles, but I'm going to be working in corporate communications. I work at like an architect and engineer firm, so it'll be fun. But yeah, so this is like especially interesting to me because, you know, communications is, I love that stuff. So
You should see if your organization would let you take this course.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
It's a really, really good course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like anyone in any, I mean, we have a ton of different markets. This will be really enlightening to know how to work so closely with all of them.
Yeah. The other thing around communication is, okay, let me give my opinion on this. You can do whatever you want with that.
Yes.
For me, communication is very pushed down quite often. It's telling people, okay, this is what I want. This is how I say it. Language is very important in there. The stories you tell is very important. Absolutely. But to get something done, people have never changed from a PowerPoint slide set.
Mm-hmm.
People have never done or changed from posters on the wall with eagles flying over valleys with motivational text underneath. So you always have to also incorporate behavior from that. Yeah, if you want to get the results, you always have to say, well, this is great that we want to do this. We want to have this strategy, or we're communicating the strategy. But how do you link organizational behavior in there? What kind of actions are we going to take to be able to accomplish that? And I think that's quite often things that I see is missing. And sometimes that it works well because people just follow it, but sometimes it also, you communicate and you have something like, why didn't anyone follow this? Yeah, and why, what happened here? So that's one part of that. And then language for me is, language matters in everything we do. The nuances in language. And I know we have a whole section on language in the course, and a different language is a different vision of life. It's from a quote from Fellini, and it's true. It's like if you use different words, you automatically get a totally different perspective. And as a communication specialist, you need to, or you know this. That sometimes it's the wordsmithing that is extremely important to get something across. But I think in relationships, in building relationships, we quite often forget that. Communication quite often is, okay, I need to write something, or I need to have this. But when you speak, there's a different language going on. And the wrong word in there can completely change the perception.
Right.
That's part of it. And you need to arm people with the right communication and the language to be able to actually accomplish that. So it's a really interesting topic overall, because it's directly influencing culture.
Yeah, that's like its own topic in itself.
Oh yes, it is.
Jeez, yeah.
Maybe you should have actually done two podcast sessions. Session 2 will continue in next week.
Exactly. We'll have you back.
I'll get Elka to talk about organizational behavior. But yeah, no, it's I think it's extremely important. We don't communicate enough. We don't demonstrate the right behavior. We don't drive that, and that's affecting relationships. And in my view, relationships are what drives an organization. If you ever look at where something went well, it's quite often because the relationships went well. So that's, for me, the important part. So
perfect.
Good.
That's a great way to wrap it up. That's awesome. Everything in a bow. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and so much great information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just going to ask Robin to appear on one of my podcasts.
Yeah, I would love to.
I want to know about your role, etc., and what you're doing. So it's, but yeah, we've talked about that. But so we'll set that up, absolutely. But yeah, I loved being here. I love to talk about these kind of things. So I hope it was entertaining as well, because people need to listen to it. They might be interested in the topic, but yeah, we took some side roads, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. So yeah, there might be some things that you have some like, what does this have to do with it? But yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
for all of our listeners, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye, guys.